How will Jorginho fit into Mikel Arteta's Arsenal? But I want you guys to get into the comments. Do you think this is a good transfer? Today we're going to go through all the statistics, the tactics and profile Jorginho as a player. Arsenal this season, of course, have played in a 4-2-3-1 with the idea of the box-to-box midfielder moving to attacking midfield, a single pivot to create out the back with Zinchenko moving into an inverted full-back position for Arsenal to control the play. Arsenal, in terms of their squad, of course, this season have mainly played Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey in midfield to really good effect. There is a need in the long term to bring in the likes of Caicedo and Declan Rice to really move that midfield on, with Thomas Partey being 29 and Granit Xhaka being 30. But the thing that I'd say, and why I quite like this deal, is that Jorginho will come in and will allow Arsenal to maybe rotate that midfield, to rotate Partey, to rotate Granit Xhaka, and potentially put an attacking midfielder into that second midfield slot. In terms of Jorginho, we all know he is a fantastic ball player, a player capable of controlling the tempo out of the back with short passes, but also looking for those kind of clip balls over the top. The kind of pass that comes to my mind with Jorginho is when he receives the ball from the outside onto the inside and plays first time over the top of the defence. That's something that we saw at Napoli and something that we've seen consistently for Chelsea in the Premier League. He's not only that, but he's a player that will move with possession as the team gets into the final third. He'll always be in a really nice pocket of space to receive in that kind of regista position, always to look inside, and then Jorginho to start to dictate the play. A different player to Thomas Partey, and maybe that's why I quite like the move. So let's take a look at Jorginho's statistics as a rank versus midfielders in Europe's top 5 leagues in the last 365 days. Jorginho ranks in the top 10% of midfielders for touches, passes completed, ball recoveries, passes into the final third, progressive passes, tackle plus interceptions, and penalties converted. Jorginho is a player that will control the tempo. My slight concerns, though, is how he fits into Arsenal from a defensive perspective. When looking at Jorginho as a footballer, we always think about the passes, the link-up, the interplay. But where I really think Arsenal have done well this season is in that negative transition with Thomas Partey. He has been brilliant at winning the ball back, being super aggressive and winning those 50-50s. When Jorginho plays that role at times, I do worry not only his ability to cover ground in a defensive setting, simply he's not even the fastest type of footballer, so to close the distance and then close a player down is a bit of an issue. Also defending into the wide areas, at times he will get beaten on the dribble when the opponents have been cutting inside. From a stats perspective, we can look at that in comparison with a number of top midfielders in the Premier League. So what we've compared Jorginho with Thomas Partey, with El Nene, with Casemiro, with Moises Caicedo and Bruno Guimaraes. Statistically, obviously profile-wise, the passing statistics are very, very good for Jorginho, comes out well in the group. But my concern is if we look at the players that have dribbled past Jorginho this season in the Premier League. It's happened 23 times so far, which is more than Casemiro, Partey, Bruno Guimaraes, Caicedo and El Nene. Obviously, El Nene's minutes have been limited, but still this hit hangs true. Only 2 players in the Premier League this season have been dribbled past more than, of course, Jorginho this season, with Matheus Jensen from Brentford and João Paulinho from Fulham. But Paulinho has made 57 more tackles than Jorginho this season. Paulinho has also won 77% of his tackles versus Jorginho's 65% win rate. That is my one concern with Jorginho in those kind of moments. Can he win the ball back? Is he that aggressive? But just thinking about this right now, one of the things that Arteta could do is in fact play Jorginho as that 8 and play Thomas Partey back in that defensive midfield role. That could be an option to limit the counter-attacking threat of the opponent. Of course, as games go forward, it could be a change of a midfield. We could see more attackers in there. Jorginho, naturally a good player at opening up a low block. When we look from a stats perspective, over his tenure in the Premier League, probably the most similar season to this season under Arteta would be the time that Jorginho spent under Sarri. In that season, in a single game, only İlkay Gundogan completed more passes in a single game, but Jorginho was twice in the top 3 list, once against West Ham United, where he completely ran the show at 191 touches of the football, created 3 chances, completed 8 out of his 11 long passes, but also coming in a 2-1 win for Chelsea against Newcastle. Again, 186 touches of the football, absolutely dominant in the final third. And I think that's going to be a big thing for Arsenal in this second part of the season, having somebody to really sit and dictate in the final third. I think teams will start to be a lot more aware of what Arsenal are doing, which could lead to Arsenal throwing Jorginho as a regista, having a Fabio Vieira in the inside left position, really playing as many attackers as possible. I think the big thing with this deal is, if it is a success, Arsenal will win the Premier League. But you could liken this transfer maybe to Thiago's when he went to Liverpool in the 2020 season. On paper was a good deal, provides quality on the ball in midfield. There's benefits there. A little bit lightweight, like Jorginho. From a defensive perspective, you're thinking he provides a completely different skill set, or Thiago did to the Liverpool team. I think Jorginho provides a slightly different skill set than the Arsenal players. You're talking Thiago was signed at 29, Jorginho is now 31. But the issue for both players is their lack of mobility could break the system. We've seen that with Thiago this season, and we might see that with Jorginho. We spoke about the weaknesses on the counter-attack, and dealing with that type of situation is going to be a trade-off for Arsenal. If they can, sort their build up in a sense of maybe playing Ben White slightly more inverted when Jorginho's on the pitch. We've seen Guardiola do that with kind of more ball-playing defensive midfielders. So having three in there instead of what we see at times with White playing as maybe more of a wing-back, overlapping Saka at certain moments, playing him super narrow with Zinchenko could allow maybe Jorginho to play that role in midfield. But in conclusion, Arsenal have not won the league in 19 years. This is a great signing in the short term. This is a fantastic deal for 4 months. We're taking El Nene's had massive injury problems this season. Lokonga hasn't been suited to this deep-lying midfield role, which has led for Thomas Partey playing a lot of football. Arsenal can't do that towards the end of the season because the games will come thick and fast and Partey may pick up an injury. But for Jorginho to play in the Europa League, I think that is a great option. Jorginho could play on Thursday, Partey could come in and play on the Saturday or the Sunday. I think that makes me think that it's a good option. The other thing that I've seen with Thomas Partey over the years is that at the back end of the 2019-20 season, Partey in fact played more of an attacking role for Diego Simeone at the back end of that season. There was just a game that stuck in my memory against Getafe in La Liga, where Thomas Partey started on the bench for Diego Simeone's side, but was brought on as a number 10, and came on, scored a goal, made a massive impact in the match in terms of his statistics, completed 91% of his passes, 3 out of 3 of his accurate long balls, 1 shot, 1 goal, completed 2 out of his 2 dribbles. That could be something that Arteta does. Field Thomas Partey high up the pitch, playing more of a goal-scoring midfield role for Arsenal. He's got the quality to do that. His finishing is quite good, quite underrated. So that could be a little bit of an option. Jorginho sitting at the base, the narrow fullbacks, as we mentioned previously, allowing Partey to become in a kind of target in the penalty area like we've seen with Granit Xhaka. So I think that is a benefit. In those 4 months, I think is a great deal. But in the future, Arsenal need to make some signings. With the recruitment, they're looking at the likes of Caicedo. The bids have come in. He's someone that will take Arsenal to a new level. His ability to play both positions, but also to be a box-to-box killer, to play this attacking role would make sense. I think the big thing there is the Jorginho signing is good if it doesn't stop a Caicedo joining or a Declan Rice joining. In the long term, Arsenal should be looking at both the players, Caicedo and Declan Rice, to join the football club, to make that evolution, to make that step after Granit Xhaka and Partey, after they get a bit too old. So as long as that doesn't stop with Arsenal's recruitment, if it stays the same, the same flow, would make a lot of sense. Because you could look going into next season, if Arsenal don't make a move in the window, Arsenal will have 4 players that will be 30 years or over. We're talking Partey, Granit Xhaka, Jorginho, and El Nene if he gets his contract extension. That reminds me a lot of what's happening with Liverpool right now, with Henderson, Fabinho, with Thiago. So there's a bit of concern there if Arsenal don't move forward, sign the young players to replace their old players. That's a concern for me. But remember that Arteta was a key part in this deal. He wants Jorginho. He needs to be backed. And I think it could be a good experience with Thomas Partey. And as we mentioned, a good rotation option for the Europa League. But anyway, guys, get into the comments below what you think about Jorginho's move to Arsenal. Do you think it's a good one? Do you think it's a bad one? How do you think he'll fit in from a tactical perspective? And should Arsenal sign Declan Rice and Caicedo in the summer? I've been Statman Dave. Check out SofaScore, subscribe if you do, and we'll see you later.